you're in bed, I'd like to sing you a song to help you fall asleep. Sleep, sleep, floating away to a place where dreams are found. Sleep, sleep, at the end of the day, all the world slows down. The birds in the trees, the ducks on the lake, the animals sleep, no sound do they make. Only the stars are still awake. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Sleep, sleep, there in your room with the ones you love nearby. Sleep, sleep, above you the moon is gliding across the sky. How softly it shines, what shadows it makes, while everyone sleeps until morning breaks. Only the stars are still awake. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Before I tell you a bedtime story, I want you to get really comfortable. Lie down under the covers and feel how soft and warm they are. Now let your eyes close very slowly. That's good. Now let your whole body relax. Relax your fingers and your arms. Relax your legs and your feet. Picture yourself floating on a comfortable little cloud. Doesn't that feel good? Now breathe in slowly. Now breathe out. Now breathe in again. And breathe out. I hope you're feeling all nice and comfy now, because I'm going to tell you a story. If you want, you can fall asleep while I'm telling it. When my little brother was a baby, sometimes he didn't like to go to sleep. My mom would put him in bed, and he would start crying. Wee, wee. So Mom would pick him up, sit in her rocking chair, and sing him to sleep. I used to sit down on the floor and listen, and one day she sang a really pretty song to him. Here's how it went. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna give you a mockingbird. Gee, I thought, my little brother sure is lucky. Mom rocks him and sings to him, and she's even gonna give him a mockingbird. Then I thought about how neat it would be to have a mockingbird of my own. He could sit on my shoulder and maybe even build a nest on my windowsill. My brother sure was lucky. When Mom put my little brother to bed the next day, he started crying again. Wah, wah. So she picked him up and sat down in her rocking chair. I thought they looked pretty cozy, so I tried to climb up in the rocking chair too, but there wasn't enough room. Oh, Cricket, said my mom, you're getting to be such a big girl. Most of the time it felt really good to be a big girl, but right then I wanted to be little, just like my brother. Anyway, I sat back down on the floor and listened while Mom sang my brother to sleep. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Mama's gonna bake you an apple pie. And if that apple pie spills over, Mama's gonna give you a dog named Rover. Gee, I thought, my little brother sure is lucky. Mom rocks him and sings to him, and she's even gonna give him a dog named Rover. Then I thought about how neat it would be to have a dog of my own. I could throw a ball for him to chase, and we could play together all day long. My brother sure was lucky. When Mom put my little brother to bed the next day, he started crying again. Wah, wah. So she picked him up and went to sit down in her rocking chair, but I got there first. Let me hold him, I said. No, Cricket, said my mom. You're too little to hold the baby. Gee, I thought, I'm too big to sit in the chair, and too little to hold the baby. I feel kind of left out. So I sat back down on the floor and listened while Mom sang my brother to sleep. Hush, little baby, rest your head. Mama's gonna make you a feather bed. And if that feather bed falls apart, Mama's gonna give you a horse and cart. Gee, I thought, my little brother sure is lucky. Mom rocks him and sings to him, and she's even gonna give him a horse and cart. That's what I always wanted. I didn't feel like listening to any more of the song, so I went to my room and got under the covers. I liked my little brother, but how come he was always getting held and rocked? And how come Mom was gonna give him all those neat things? I was beginning to think that Mom liked him more than me, and that didn't feel good at all. But just then, Daddy came in to say goodnight. "Why the long face, Cricket?" he said. So I told him about all the things Mom was going to give my little brother. Then my dad hugged me real tight and said, "It's only a lullaby, Cricket, to help the baby get to sleep. We love you even more than ever." Well, that made me feel a whole lot better. "Would you like me to sing a lullaby to you?" Daddy said. "Yes," I said, and so he did. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Daddy's gonna give you a mockingbird. And if that bird flies off to town, you'll still be the sweetest little girl around. Was that a sweet story or what? My little brother didn't get a mockingbird after all, but he did get a teddy bear. He sure loved that bear a lot. He slept with it and played with it and even spilled cereal on it. And he hugged it so much that after a while, it didn't have any fur left at all. I know a poem about a little bear like that, and it goes like this. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't very fuzzy. Was he? Is that fuzzy? I mean funny or what? You know, one time I decided I was tired of sleeping in my same old bed every night. I wonder what other kind of places there were to sleep. So this is what I did. I went to a bird, and here's what I said. "Where do you sleep, and what kind of bed?" She showed me her nest up in a tree, but it was way too high for me. I went to a dog, and here's what I said. "Where do you sleep, and what kind of bed?" He showed me his house out in the yard, but I thought his mattress a little too hard. I went to a cow, and here's what I said. "Where do you sleep, and what kind of bed?" She showed me the barn with sweet-smelling hay, but it was too cold. Thanks anyway. I went to a bear and a fish and a cat. Their beds were too big or too wet or too flat. No nest or cave or barn for me. My own soft bed is where I should be. Sleep, sleep, floating away to a place where dreams are found. Sleep, sleep, at the end of the day, all the world slows down. The birds in the trees, the ducks on the lake, the animals sleep, no sound do they make. Only the stars are still awake. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Once upon a time in a far-off land, there lived a beautiful young princess who was not quite 16. Her father, the king, loved his daughter so much that one day he said, "Next week is your birthday, my dear, and you may have whatever you wish." "Oh, thank you," said the princess to her father. "What I wish for is to be all grown up." "But you shall be grown up for such a long time," said the king. "Why not remain a girl for just a little longer?" "Well then," said the princess to her father, "what I wish for is to be a young lady. That's halfway between a girl and a grown-up." "Then a young lady you shall become," said the king, and he began to plan a wonderful ball for her birthday. He invited all the neighboring kings and queens and princes and princesses, and all the local fairies too. 'Cause even the king knew that without fairies there would be no magic, and everybody knows that a birthday is the most magical day of the year. Soon the big day came, and the palace filled with guests from far and wide. When the ball began, the princess danced with all the neighboring princes. But there was one prince who was her favorite, and she danced with him the most. Of course he was tall and dark and handsome and brave and courteous and kind and sincere and charming too. But above all else, he was true, which means he always told the truth. Then suddenly the fairies arrived. "The fairies are here," everyone said. Make way for the fairies." And into the room flew two of the princess's favorite fairies, Marigold and Daffodil. They were both dressed in shimmery gowns of gold, with golden sparkles in their hair and golden slippers on their toes. "Happy birthday, princess," the two fairies sang. "We've brought you magical gifts on this most magical day." Then Marigold came forward. "What have you brought for me?" said the princess to Marigold. And Marigold said, "I have brought you the gift of wisdom. But without wisdom, a little girl can never become a young lady." Then Marigold gave the princess a beautiful book, in which was written all the things there were to know. And the princess said, "Oh, thank you so very much for your gift of wisdom." Then Daffodil came forward. "What have you brought for me?" said the princess to Daffodil. And Daffodil said, "I have brought you the gift of caring. For without caring, a little girl can never become a young lady." Then Daffodil gave the princess a beautiful necklace with a locket in the shape of a heart. And the princess said, "Oh, thank you so very much for your gift of caring." Then the king came forward and said, "Thank you, good fairies, for your kind gifts. But where is Peach Blossom, my daughter's most favorite fairy?" "She is late," said the fairies, "but do not fear. Before the stroke of midnight, Peach Blossom will appear." And everybody cheered. Then the band began to play again, and the princess danced once more with her favorite prince. But because he must always speak what is true, the prince soon said, "I must leave you now, dear princess, to seek my fortune in far-off lands. But I promise we shall marry when I return." Then the prince gave the princess a kiss on her cheek and said, "Someday I will kiss you again." And then he was gone. And then, who should appear but the fairy Peach Blossom? "Peach Blossom is here," everyone said. Make way for Peach Blossom." Then Peach Blossom came forward. "And what have you brought for me?" said the princess to Peach Blossom. And Peach Blossom said, "I have brought you the gift of happiness. For without happiness, a little girl can never become a young lady." Before Peach Blossom could bestow her gift, the clock struck 12. The princess sighed. Her eyelids fluttered, and she fell down on the floor in a deep sleep. "Oh no," cried Peach Blossom, "I'm too late after all. For as everyone knows, if midnight interrupts a fairy spell, then her magic will be turned inside out. Now my gift of happiness has become an endless sleep." "But there must be something we can do," cried the king. "No, nothing," said Peach Blossom. "Only the kiss of her one true love can awaken her now." Soon the news of the Sleeping Beauty spread, and princes came from far and wide to see if they were her true love. But of course, not one of them was. Then one day, after 3 years had passed, there came to the palace door a beggar dressed in rags. "What do you wish?" said the king to the beggar. And the beggar said, "I wish to kiss the Sleeping Beauty." "What? You?" said the king. "How can you possibly be her one true love?" "Because I always speak the truth," said the beggar. "Guards, take him away," said the king. But Peach Blossom had heard the beggar's words, and she said, "Let him stay, O king. Let the truthful beggar have his wish." So the king led the beggar to his daughter, and the beggar knelt down beside Sleeping Beauty and kissed her gently on the cheek. The princess sighed, her eyelids fluttered, and then she smiled and said, "Oh, thank you so very much for your gift of happiness." Then the king cried for joy, and Peach Blossom was so delighted she danced on the ceiling. And as for Sleeping Beauty, who was still beautiful but sleepy no more, she married her prince, and they both lived happily ever after. Sweet dreams, nighty-night. See you in the morning. I'll be talking to ya.